Now, when you look at these headlines, these entries, one way or the other, you'll see that they are really related to the issues we have as a country. And so they are related in a way that is focusing on what the problems are. And that is what happens every blessed day. We tell single stories of how things are not working well in the country, single stories of how we are usually fixated on problem-driven stories. And of course, the problems are there. Nobody will deny that. Like every other country of the world, on daily basis, the countries of the world are really dealing with their own problems. But of course, within this problem-driven context, there is what we call solution stories, solutions journalism. It's also called constructive journalism. And what is it? It's a rigorous evidence-based reporting that focuses on response to a social problem, that draws insight or lessons from the response, and that looks for evidence, either quantitative or qualitative, of whether it works or not. And it won't stop at that. It also reports limitations. So, in one word, solution journalism, SOJO as we popularly call it, constructive journalism, is evidence-based. It focuses on response to a problem instead of the problem. It draws insights or lessons from the response. It also looks for evidence, either quantitative or qualitative, of whether it works or not. And it reports limitations. So solution journalism is that kind of journalism that is rigorous, that is evidence-based, that focuses on response to a social problem, that looks for insights or lessons that others could learn from the problem, from the response, and that look for evidence of the work of success, either quantitative or qualitative, and that report limitations. At this point, I want to ask the audience, did you actually get my description of what solutions journalism is? Can we, in the comment section, state some things that characterize solutions stories or solutions journalism? Yes, can I have responses in the chat? I'm waiting. Responses in the chat, okay. So Kenneth has said it's evidence-based. Yes. Who is also with us here? Okay, it is rigorous. I want other members of the audience. Okay, Ali Oluwasegun, it's constructive journalism. You are right. That is synonym for solution journalism. Yes. Who again? Apart from Ali, who is with us? Oluwatimileyin Olusojo, yes, good. Focuses on response to a social problem and draws lessons from it. Thank you very much. I like how you capture this. Yes, Alaska Mark, it is focused to solve a social problem. Well, it may not solve. Solution journalism is not meant to solve problem. It is meant to report response or solutions that people have towards a particular social problem or issue. Okay, thank you very much. I like the response. It shows that you are with us. And Chinomso also says it draws insight from response and prefer solution. Yes, yes, yes. So that is solutions journalism. Now, the thought behind solution journalism is bipolar. Bipolar in the sense that you have a problem, you have a response to it. You have a problem, you have a response to it. And the social thought is problems scream, solutions whisper. And that is why today, when you look at our news media, what we see majorly all the time are stories that amplify the problems. And that is why the problems scream. And of course, it doesn't mean that there are no solutions, but solutions does not have people to cover it. Problems have abundance of reportage, solutions is highly neglected. And that's why today in our society, problems are screaming, solutions are whispering. And that's why efforts of people aimed at responding to issues are usually not covered. And that is the problem. And that is why we are looking at the concept of solution journalism. Problems scream, solutions whisper. I like this from Joy Putela. She says that solution journalism is a reaction to the gloom, doom, and disaster that too often dominate headlines and too rarely lead to any kind of sustained action. Of course, because all the times when we focus on the problem, we talk about it for a while, we drop it, we move on to some other problems. And so if we keep talking about solutions, if we keep looking at solutions, journalism at different areas of our national life, then we have what we call constructive journalism. Now, we are going back to the pillars of solution stories, pillars of solution journalism. As we have said the other time, we say it's rigorous, it's evidence-based, and focuses on 4 things. So the first thing is response. When we say response, the story focuses on a response to a problem and not just a problem. And then another pillar of solution journalism is evidence. It reports evidence of results, often, but not always. Yes, as much as a lot of the times when we focus on the responses, we always want to talk about the success. But of course, we can talk about responses that fail too, and look at the reasons why they have failed. One, in a way, is going to assist. In a way, hello, Chinomso, is there any issue?
No, sir, we are with you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So when we look at evidence most often can be on the success of the response or on how it has failed. So when we look at it in the 2 ways, at least it is still a plus for the society. Yes, somebody has responded to a social problem, and then whether they are failed or not is what we want to take a look at. But what is important is that there's a response, and that's what we want to look at instead of focusing on the problem. And then we talk about insight. And this includes approaches or lessons others can learn from and they are not in any way inspired to respond. But when they read stories of people doing something about their own problem that they have or something that's similar to them, then they can also try to drive something around that problem. So there is insight. And of course, there is limitations. Okay, this looks at what are the things that are reducing the chances of success of the response. Or what are the likely challenges? Or what are the challenges that could hamper or hinder the solution from being sustainable? Because when we look at responses, we are looking at responses that are sustainable. And so solutions stories look at limitations. So in summary, when we say solution stories or solutions journalism, it is based on 4 pillars: response, evidence, insight, limitations. And I've said earlier that the solution journalism thought is on problems, screaming, and solutions whispering. So I want to know, do we get this clearly? The pillars of solutions stories. What are the pillars? Can somebody respond in the chat? Yes, I'm looking at the chat. What are the 4 pillars of solution journalism? What are the 4 pillars of solution journalism? Okay. Ali Oluwasegun, response, evidence, insight, and limitations. Response, evidence, insight. Okay. Yes, Bolaji Badmus, response. Yes, that is what somebody has done to respond to a particular issue or problem to society. Thank you. Yeah. Bolaji Badmus said response. Okay. Yes, Ganten gifts, response, evidence, insight, limitations. Okay. Tochi Okere, response, evidence, insight, and limitations. Thank you very much. And so, what is that thought that solution journalism is anchored on? Okay. Alaska Mark, response, insight, evidence, limitation. That's fine. So, yeah, let's move away a little bit from the responses. What is the Sojo thought? What is the Sojo thought? I said it is bipolar. Something is screaming at one end, another is whispering at the other end. What is whispering? Okay, Damilare Fadi, problems screaming and solutions whispering. Exactly. And that is why today you have a situation where we focus more on the problems rather than the solutions. Thank you very much, everybody, for the response. It shows that you are following me. Now, let us now go into selected solution story. So I said Sojo story. Now, this is a story published by the SolutionsPaper. I happen to be the lead writer with one of my mentees. We did this story together. There is a particular radio program in Oshogbo, Osun State. Oshogbo is the capital of Osun State in Nigeria. And there's this private radio station in Oshogbo, Rave FM. On that Rave FM, there is this program that is run every Wednesday. We call it Karakata. Karakata means buying and selling. And so what does the man do? The man focuses on people that are operating below the small scale, the nano scale. I mean, petty traders that are beyond small scale, that are below small scale. So ask them to call into the program and pitch what 5,000 naira could do for them to assist their business. And so that's how the man, Dayo Derino, has been empowering people. And so we felt this is a response to poverty alleviation, it's a response to a goal of the sustainable development, which is no poverty. And so we went in to write this story, and it was a fantastic sojo story. The response there was assisting people, empowering people with capital for their businesses. And people have been benefiting seriously from the program. And so we look at the response. They are using radio program to empower people, not just to give people money anyhow. People will call in and tell us what exactly they can use 5,000 naira for in their business. And you can see genuine reasons of people needing that money to assist their businesses. And so it's a sojo story that we wrote. Another story here is taken also from SolutionsPaper, mental health. How Nigerian students are getting the support they need. This story focuses on how an NGO is responding to the mental health issues of students in tertiary institutions. It's a response. It's a response. This response stands between access to education and well-being. You know, when you also look at this particular story, how a foundation is solving the out-of-school children issue in Warri. This story was published by ICIR, and they look at how Clever Minds Free Primary School for orphans in Warri is responding to the issue of out-of-school children in Warri. When you take a look at this story, taken from Human Angle Media, a visually impaired Nigerian is training others to use gadgets with ease. These are issues that people are responding to. Again, this is a story taken from Premium Times, how Abuja farmers use organic pesticides, disease control to reduce climate change effects. So when you look at the stories I've talked about so far, you will see that somebody somewhere is trying to solve a problem, and that is the response. That is the response to the problem. Instead of looking at the problem itself, somebody is looking at how to solve the problem. Instead of looking at the problem, somebody is looking at how to solve the problem. So you can see from poverty alleviation and empowerment to mental health, to access to education, to empowerment of visually impaired person, to how farmers are using organic pesticides and disease control to reduce climate change effect. You see that there is a lot that we can talk about in our space in Nigeria as solutions and responses. Now, at this point, I would like to hear from the participants. What is their understanding of solution stories, solutions journalism? At least I need to hear from 2 or 3 people to have an understanding of what solution stories is all about. I think you can unmute yourself. Abi Chidom, so how do we do it?
Yes, sir, we are good to go like that, sir.
Okay, so please unmute yourself, introduce yourself. Let me have an understanding of what you have said so far, as you understand it.
Okay, so based on my own understanding of the whole Sojo story, so
Who is
I got
speaking?
on.
Who is speaking?
This is Ali Oluwasegun, sir.
Okay, please introduce yourself. Ali Oluwasegun, which department are you?
Sir?
What's your department?
Okay, my name is Ali Oluwasegun, and I'm from Agricultural Engineering, University of Ibadan.
Good.
Yes, sir. So based on my own
of solution journalism.
Sir?
Yes, go on.
So based on my understanding of solution journalism, I was able to understand that it's not just like the normal, unlike the normal journalism, it's not just focused on the problems, but rather how it's focused on the response to the problems themselves. So it's more looking like a solution, like a long-term solution to the problems. So that's what I was able to understand. And I was also able to understand that there are four pillars. We have the response, the evidence, the insights, and the limitation, and they are all interrelated, sir. These are
Yeah,
what I've been able to learn, sir.
thank you very much. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
you've nailed it. It's about solutions. It's looking at responses of people to problems instead of looking at the problems alone. Solution journalism is looking at the issues, I mean, the responses to the problems. Yes, can I, apart from Ali Oluwasegun, thank you very much, agricultural engineering. That's good. So who again wants to give us a summary of what you have said so far on solution journalism? Apart from Ali. Okay, Tochi Okere has said, in our own understanding, solution story is a way of providing write-up on solutions instead of focusing only on the problems. Okay, good. From Tochi Kingsley, Yaba College of Technology, Computer Science. You are right. It's about reporting responses of people to problems instead of reporting the problems themselves. Thank you very much. Tochi Okere. Yes, any other person before we move on? Any other
Okay,
person
sir.
before we move
Yes, sir.
on? Ask Mark.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My name is Alaska Mark from University of Jos Mass Communication Department.
Okay, I didn't get your university.
University of Jos. University of Jos.
University of Jos. That's fine. Yes.
Okay. Basically, what I was able to understand is that in solution journalism is about a rigorous evidence-based reporting that focus on response to a social problem, and then most times it also reports the limitations, just like you said, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Alaska. It is rigorous because we don't just want to create stories. It is evidence-based. You must show evidence that somebody has done something and it is working. Even though if it is not working, you must report it. If it is working, you must report it. It is more or less an investigative journalism that focuses on responses to social problems instead of problems themselves. So, because when you want to get published, you will be asked a lot of questions about your stories. You must document every fact and provide sources for them. That's why we say it is evidence-based. You don't just go up and sit somewhere and then come up with a story. So it's important that you do your investigations. You ask every needed questions that you have to ask. Okay, and that's why it doesn't focus on breaking news, because it's not about breaking news. You can't break news with solution stories. What you only need to do is have in-depth reportage, in-depth, investigate, ask questions. Every route must be well investigated before you come up with your story. So I thank everyone, Tochi Okere, Alaska Mark, and Aliu Oluwasegun. Thank you very much for your participation. So now we move on. The question now is, why solution journalism? Why? Why solution journalism? It's a question everybody has been asking. Which one is solution journalism? Why do you have to focus on solution journalism? when we have so many problems that are bothering us, why are we not going to be talking about them? So these are the responses. When somebody have talked about a lot about the problem, like we have been talking about problem of bad governance in Nigeria, we have been talking about the problem of fuel scarcity in Nigeria, we have been talking about a lot of problems, irregular power supply and all of that. But people are doing something about these issues. Who is investigating what? Recently, if you are current, or if you would have seen it on social media, it went viral on Twitter, of a young lady who was converting sachet of pure water to petrol. I think she is a master's student, and for her master's project, she is looking at the technology of converting sachet of pure water, used sachet of pure water to petrol in the lab. People are talking about it across social media. I think it's a university in the north. People are talking about it across social media. But it didn't get attention from the mainstream media until people started talking about it. And it is something that we should talk about and take a look at it and look at what is that response. How can we scale the response up to solve the problem? Nobody is talking about. So, but solution journalism is looking at, when you are talking about the problem all the time, who talks about the solution, or who is doing it better? That is one. Number two, well, I don't want to put this here, but I feel I should put it. Especially for you students, it could be financially rewarding too, because organizations are supporting solution and constructive journalism here and there, in form of grants, in form of awards, in form of fellowships, and what have you. But most importantly, solution journalism empowers people with hope. When we talk about this, I usually share my mom's story. You know, my mom has been staying with me since 2013 or thereabout. And anytime we are leaving for work, and my children are going for school, she's the one at home. And because we didn't teach her how to use the remote control. So a lot of the times it is where we put the station that she will watch from morning until we come back in the evening. So whenever we return, she will be complaining. Why is it that there is nothing good happening in the world? Even though the old woman does not understand English, but at least she sees images of what is happening on Al Jazeera or sometimes on channels and other stations that we usually watch. Until we decided to teach her to use the remote control, we noticed that every time we came back in the evening, lots of the times, she will be feeling depressed because she has seen so much suffering, she has seen so much problems in the world, and so that has a tendency of making people to believe that, oh, the problems in this world, they are like bicycle. You know, you keep on riding them and there will be solutions. So solution journalism empowers people with hope. Not only that, solutions journalism is trying to reposition media from the watchdog role. Every time we say the media is a watchdog of the society. As a matter of fact, even be conflict about what if the media is the watchdog, who watches the watchdog? So solution journalism is saying that media should move from the watchdog role to the guide dog role. And by looking at the kind of responses people are putting up for issues, then the media is trying to metamorphose from watchdog to guide dog. And again, we say by following Sojo, we are trying to give agency to people. We are trying to give voice to the people, because there are a lot of problems in our societies, and people are in every nook and corner of this country doing things to respond to this problem. And so when they are doing things and we don't encourage them, we don't talk about what they are doing, we don't give them amplification, then what are we doing? we are taking the voice away from the people, and the media is expected to be the voice of the people, to give people the agency to solve their own problem. When we do solution journalism, we are doing the whole story. Yes, because when we focus on the problem-driven aspects of our society alone, we are doing half story, because every society is made up of problems and opportunities. So problems and solutions. And so when we talk about the problems and we're not talking about the solutions, what we are trying to do is trying to tell the half story. Let me share my experience on telling the whole story. Habitual Sitter is my platform. It was founded in 2021, August. But before we did that, we tried to look at the media. We invested about 1,000 headlines, looking at what are the headlines saying about our tertiary institutions in Nigeria. And we discovered that the media has been telling a whole lot of half story about institutions in Nigeria. If it's not about crisis today, about a union crisis, it's going to be about somebody trying to ask for sex and stuff like that. But there are people within the system with its challenges. There are people that are responding. There are people that are pushing the boundaries of limitations to do stuffs. And so when we began it, there was a story in Ilorin of a young man who worked with another young man who are trying to put up a robot that's going to be monitoring the pipelines that we have in Nigeria. And the media will not talk about it. And so by not doing that, we are not telling the whole story. We are talking only about the other side of the society without looking at the other options that we have. And of course, we have improved mental health, because when people are so much exposed to negative stories every time they switch on, they go to the media, it's all about negative. It has impact on the mental health, and that showed a lot during COVID-19. A lot of people could not even withstand the numbers that were being read out on a daily basis on COVID-19. The number of people infected, the number of people that died, the number of people that are still hospitalized. And so when we do Sojo, we tell people that yes, it is not all about problems. There are also responses that people are making, and there is hope for tomorrow, and so that we can have a balanced and improved mental health. And this is also related. News avoidance. There is news avoidance now because people want to run away from negative stories that keep on coming up every time. So people want to avoid news. And when people avoid news, there is what we call information poverty. When people run away from the news, how do they want to know what is going on? And so what we are saying is, let us balance the two. Let us balance the scale. Let's talk about the problems. Let's also talk about those that are responding to the issues, instead of having a situation where the media landscape is dominated by negative stories. And I think it's a function of pedagogy. It's a function of what we teach in the classroom. When we say, yes, bad news is good news in journalism. Good news should also be news. Bad news shouldn't be news every time. Good news should be news. And good news of people that are responding to issues around us should be news too. And so these are the reasons why we have to go and apply solution journalism. Now, I've listed about 5 or 6 or 7 reasons why we have to do Sojo. Now, I want our participants to tell me and share personal experiences of if they have heard something of this nature and before. What do you think about the guide dog versus the watchdog role of the media? What do you think about Sojo giving agency of voice to the people? What are you thinking about? What do you think about telling the whole story and others that I've mentioned here? So you can unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and tell us what your perspectives are on the things I've listed. Yes.
Okay, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Alaska, yes, I can.
Okay. I just want to stress more on the watchdog that you're talking about.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You
You
mentioned
want to
something
know more
concerning.
about watchdog?
No, I just want to stress it more because you say that the media serve as the watchdog, yeah, and then you not say that who now watches over the watchdog of the society, because we are made to
Yes.
understand that the media physically serve as the watchdog of the society. Now,
Yes.
who watches over the watchdog? So then you also talked about how it's solving mental health issues, because you find out that as citizens of Nigeria, we are more focused, like a lot of um, a lot of negative news is being reported almost every day and all the time,
Yes.
and then it's actually damaging a lot of people's mental health. So, like you mentioned earlier, that it should be balanced, whereby when we report this news, we should also report social news as well, so that it will be balanced
Yes.
for people
Yes.
to be able to
Yes.
balance
Ma'am,
their mental
Oscar.
health.
Yes.
Yes,
I appreciate. Yes. Yes. I said we should balance it. When you report the problems, let us also talk about people that are responding to the problems. That is what's going to make a society thrive. Okay. And then about the watchdog. Yes, the media should move from the watchdog to the guide dog role. We should guide the society by telling them what people are doing to respond to their problems. Thank you very much. Yes, apart from Alaska, Mark, who other again is coming up to say something about why do we have to do so?
Yes, sir. Okay. So mine is not too much of an experience, but okay, it occurs during the COVID period, the pandemic period. So when the whole thing was like unfolding, like happening at the international stage, and when there was little news about it here in the African listing. So people were just like speculating, contemplating, even though the thing was already around and it was already abundant. But the way the media is like reducing the effects or reducing the degree at which, maybe not to scare people. So people were not fully aware, even though they were already one way or the other involved in it. So I just feel if they were able, if they were able to communicate more effectively, like not just trying to cover the problem now, like trying to find a solution ahead. Maybe they will, because more people actually even died as a result of even the fear from the COVID than even the COVID. Like, because some were already fearful about the whole thing. So if only they had tried to like bring a solution forward, that okay, this and this is what's happening. These are the steps they are actually taking it before the thing escalated. So I felt that a lot of this damage as a result of this thing could actually have been managed, because I have some like distant relatives that were like a victim of the whole thing. So I is it on my person.
Yes, thank you very much. You have shared a very important point there. During COVID, people felt that even the fear of COVID, the fear that people get from the reportage of COVID was killing than the COVID itself. And so you discover that at a point in time, people are just told to be talking about their COVID survivor stories. And so you see that people are coming up and saying, oh, yes, I've got this, I used this, I did this, and I was able to escape COVID. So that's why. So like COVID, like other problems that we have in the society, when you talk too much about it, people feel so overwhelmed and will not want to, believe that there is a better tomorrow. So if you do not have any other person who is coming up, maybe I should move on to the next slide. I can see that my time is well spent. So now a word of caution. A word of caution. What Sojo is not. One, Sojo is not PR. Sojo is not PR. Okay, before, yes, Aremu Sulaiman. Okay, I think there is a message. Good. Damilare Fadi. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I'm in the library. I have to use the chat. Okay. Yes, 300 level psychology, University of Lagos. What I can understand is that solution journalism will help the society, most especially in improving optimal mental health and reshaping the mindset of complaining and lamenting about our problems in Nigeria to working together and coming up with solutions. Exactly, you are right. You get it. Because when others are doing things about a certain problem and they get reported, they get into the media, others can also learn from them and draw insights and lessons from what they are doing. So thank you very much. From University of Lagos, Damilare Fadi. Thank you for the comment. So PR, so what Sojo is not? One, Sojo is not public relations. You don't do PR for people. You don't say, yeah, this is a particular politician that is empowering people, giving them cutlass, giving them air making machine, giving them Okada and the rest of them, and then you talk about it. It's not PR. It is not hero worship too, believing that that problem is the only thing that could solve the entire problem of the world. No, it's not about that. And it's not silver bullet, where you say the solution is a perfect solution for every problem, for every solution to a problem, there's another problem. And so as a solution journalism reporter, we must cover that. It is not doing favor for a friend, okay, and say, okay, let me use the opportunity to give this person a space in the media by writing something. And it is not advocacy, okay? It is not PR, it is not worship, it is not silver bullet, it is not favor for a friend, and it's not advocacy. Now, I need to rush this off because I can see that time given is almost here. So the key Sojo questions, and I want you to pay serious attention to this. If you want to be a solution journalist, what are the key Sojo questions you want to ask? How does the response work? What exactly is the response? Okay, how does it work? For instance, I've listed a number of stories at the beginning here, where we talk about, okay, yes, this radio program is helping petty traders survive. How? So you have to understand how that is working, okay? How that is working to ensure that the response is covered. So it's one of the key questions that we ask. And so, what part of the problem are not addressed by the response? Yes, because sometimes because of limitation of funds, because of limitation of space, because of limitation of time, and some other limitations, the response might be addressing a part of the problem while leaving out the other parts. So that other part, who is going to be addressing it, talk about it. Where did this idea come from? And in solution journalism, ideas can come from individuals. Ideas can come from non-governmental organizations. Ideas can come even from some government organizations that are working. So solution journalism is not about, it's about every sector of our national life. So is it being replicated elsewhere? Okay. For instance, now there is Lagos Food Bank in Lagos. If you check them out on the internet, you see they are doing a very good job. But I don't think anybody will talk about them unless they pay to attract the mainstream media to come and talk about what they are doing. And when they are going to talk about it, they will talk about it as some kind of PR. So if another organization, let's say in Oshobo or Jos, is doing something similar to what Lagos Food Bank is doing, then it means that they are replicating what Lagos Food Bank is doing elsewhere. Then what is the effect? What does the research say? And that's why we say solution journalism is investigative in nature. As you get the stories, you get the ideas, you also go into research to find out what is happening. For instance, now, for the story on a radio program, helping small businesses to survive in Oshogo, you also have to look at the poverty rate. What is this saying? In Oshogo, what is the rate of poverty? And so on and so forth. If it's education you are covering, for instance, that story that talked about out of school children, I'm sure that it was included statistics of out of school children in Nigeria, in Delta State, and what the guy is doing to provide a response. So what does the research say? What do the critics say? Okay, what are people saying about the response? Is it good enough? Is it not good enough? What are the areas that need to improve on? And sometimes it doesn't have to be critics. Sometimes it also have to be experts. You can talk to experts about that particular response so that you have a balanced view of everything that is happening. So those are the key SOJO questions. Now, I have a sample formula for a text solution story in 800 words. This was drawn from the Solution Journalism Network website. This is it's talking about, okay, how can you divide your paragraphs of 800 words to talk about a solution story. Paragraph 1 to 3 is looking at the response, then summary of problems that led to the response. Paragraph 4 to 6 could look at evidence. You can see they put data in bracket on the problem plus response in the country or continent. So that's why I said you need to do investigation. The insights, that is quote from the response implementer, relevant authorities. Okay, you meet them. Then limitations and more evidence on results from data, from beneficiary, and all. Insight from other parties, insight or lessons from the solution, throw forward on the expansion of the response or future of the response. Okay, a lot of responses usually fall short when it talks about sustainability. How is this going to be sustained? Okay, and so on and so forth. So why do people fear SOJO? As part of my fellowship, I spoke to media practitioners, management of stations, journalists, and all of you, and all of them, and we have invested these as issues that they seem to have with solutions. And they say if people are responding to problems, then government will not want to do anything again. That's what we say, government complacency. Then does it mean that I'm going to ignore the bad news? After all, they are not the ones that created the bad news in the first instance. I'm saying no. Yes, let us talk about the problems. Let us also talk about the solutions that people are preferring to the problems. About government complacency, we say no, it's not going to encourage that, because a lot of the times, limitations, especially about duties of government, we still point to government. If government are taking this up, then the sustainability can, to a large extent, be guaranteed. Then people ask, who pays for SOJO? And I tell them, you see, SOJO will pay for itself. If you, as a participant in this training, wants to go into solution journalism, there are a lot of platforms that are ready. So, in closing, I must say that it is important for us to tell the whole story. When we focus more on the problems and neglect the responses of people to the problems, we are not assisting the cause of development. Because, as Fadi Imu said, the psychology student from UNILAG has said earlier, that we need to come together to respond to the problems instead of looking at the problems every time I'm talking about it. Somebody must do something about it. And when people are doing things about it, you must also talk about what people are doing. So on this note, I want to thank you for your time, and I'm ready for your questions. Thank you. Chinomso.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rasheed, for this very excellent presentation. Do you have a question? Okay,
Is there
I thought
anyone with
someone
question?
else was speaking to question. So thank you very much, Dr. Rashid. This has been a very enlightening session. So like you said, this is the time for questions. If you have any questions, you can unmute and speak, or you can use the chat box, whichever is more convenient for you. So this is question time, and you can also check the chat box here. There's a message on the chat box for participants who are interested in joining the Solutions Paper Africans wide network of freelance journalists. In order to receive access to media opportunities and more updates, you can join the WhatsApp group link below. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Dr. Rashid now. And Ashegun, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid, once again for having us this afternoon. It was really a wonderful and an eye-opening session because I was able to gain new knowledge about solution journalism, because I didn't even know that something like that existed before. But now I'm able to understand that, okay, when there are problems, so we shouldn't just think about the problem, but we should also look for the solution. And once we found the solutions, we should always tell the story about the solution, not just the story, not just a part of the story, but the whole story. Thank you very much, sir. And so, and to everyone that is on the meeting, please, I would like you to all do one thing for me. So can you all like take a screenshots, like some of the screenshots of what you've learned today? Can you like post it on your social media, your Twitter, your Instagram, then tag the Solutions Paper and SMIL? That's the Student Media and Information Literacy Club. Can you please do that now, please? I'll be waiting for you guys.
Shegun.
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Ali Shegun. Yeah, can I, somebody has asked a question here, Zeno Media. Thanks a lot for the presentation. What is the difference between solution journalism and development journalism? Well, solution journalism, development journalism, solution journalism is a strand of development journalism. Zeno Media, I think you can hear me, is a strand of development journalism. I teach development communication. And when we look at the role of media as an enabler of development of any nation, we definitely encourage a narrative that is more inclusive in terms of considering both the problem and the solution than just focusing on the solutions alone. And so solution journalism is a strand of development journalism, because development journalism is journalism that is aimed at looking at interrogating development issues of a country towards ensuring that there is an improvement. And so when we adopt solution journalism, we are doing a lot to push the frontiers of development. I hope I'm able to answer a question without mutual response. Then Bolaji Badmo said you have a question. Do you want to use your mic, or you want to send a question through the chat box? If you like to use the mic, you are free to unmute yourself and let us have your question.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Rashid, for the teaching so far. I have really gained a lot from the beginning. So let me go straight to my question. There is one thing I fear about solution journalism, even though I understood the most part of it, is the PR parts. Like, my question is that, where do we draw the line between solution journalism and public relations? Like, if we are doing our story, if we are writing the story, and the story has been written, so how do we draw the line between solution journalism and public relations? Like, how do we say, okay, this story we are making is not giving public relation, like it's not giving PR. I hope you understand my question, sir. So how do we draw the line? yeah, how do we draw the line between PR reports and solution journalism? Because I've read some
Journalism.
stories that I've read some solution
Yes.
stories that don't have limitations in them. And I've also read some solution stories that after the evidence and every other pillars of solution journalism has been included, the limitation part is just something about 3 or 4 lines, and that's it. Like the limitations are not that concrete. So I'm thinking that are they putting that limitations there just to like just to close
To fulfill our righteousness.
fulfill our righteousness, exactly. So how do we actually draw the line between PR in the solution story and solution story itself?
Thank you very much for that question. And it's a question that even established professionals have asked, drawing the lines between PR and Sojo. You see, and you have also answered you have also partly answered that question, because the pillar that 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 ensures that we draw the line between PR and solution journalism is the limitation aspect. Because anybody who pays a journalist to do some kind of PR will not want the limitation of their response to be mentioned. And that's why it is also important that we focus, when we focus on all the 4 pillars, on all the 3 pillars, we should include limitations. And limitations should be one that is contextualized to the particular response you are reporting. And as you have said, instead of just saying in 1 line or 2 lines or 2 sentences and just talk about the limitation to the problem, it's always very important that as we are amplifying other pillars of solution journalism, we should also amplify limitations. And that's what's going to differentiate it from PR stories. And let me say that the Solution Journalism Network has what we call Solution Journalism Stories Tracker. It has thousands of stories from all over the world of people who have done solution stories across the world. And so when you do a solution story and you submit it for solution to be indexed in the solution tracker, if it does not reflect all the 4 pillars, it's not going to be indexed. And so it means that there's something wrong with the story. So it's always very, very important as a journalist, when you are setting out, you should have at the back of your mind that, yes, you want to tell the story of a response to a particular social issue by someone or an organization, but then you have to state the limitation. That is what differentiates it majorly from being a PR story. And again, when you are looking at a solution journalism story, like I said earlier, you have to move away from portraying it as if it is the silver bullet that's going to solve all the problems in the world. No, or that's going to solve all the problems, or that's going to even be the only solution or a comprehensive solution to the problem. Every problem, as I've said, will always have its own issues. It also has its own problems. And so to tell the whole story, we must ensure that we also capture that aspect of the response in order to ensure that we do not end up doing PR instead of telling a SIJU story. Thank you, Bolaji Badmus from LASU, Mass Communication. I extend my greetings to Dr. Thani and Larry Baku.
Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Bolaji. And thank you very much for the answers, Mr. Chinonso. So thank you everyone for being a part of the section today. Or is there anyone that has any other question and needs or need any other clarifications? So in the absence of none, so we'll be at this point we'll be drawing curtain to the section today, and I hope we'll be able to have an even better section tomorrow. Thank you very much for being a part of the call, everyone, and do have a lovely afternoon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Yeah.